One unsuspecting day, Honduras, Central America, 1969. Several Douglas C-47s dropped bombs on the capital and multiple airports within Honduran borders. El Salvador had attacked, unprovoked, and the Honduran military was caught off guard. With the El Salvadorian army and air forces invading across the river border both nations share, time is the enemy of both sides. El Salvador needs to accomplish its objectives before the Organization of American States could interfere and stop the fighting on behalf of Honduras. If you think propeller craft died too soon, you should like the video and subscribe. It may or may not increase your chances of seeing a warbird. The Honduran Air Force comprised mostly of old World War II aircraft, primarily surplus Vought F4U-4, 5, and 5N fighters. The Salvadorans had a similar layout for their Air Force. However, they used the Goodyear FG-1D variant of the Corsair. All variants of the Corsair follow similar stats. The Vought F4U-4 Corsair has a length of 33 feet 8 inches, a wingspan of 41 feet, and a height of 14 feet 9 inches. It is powered by a Pratt & Whitney R2800 radial engine. This engine could push the Corsair up to 446 miles per hour. Depending on the variant of the Corsair, it could be armed with either 650 caliber M2 Browning machine guns or 4 20mm M3 cannons. All variants can carry an assortment of rockets and bombs under the wings. Due to the large amount of thrust the engine and large quad propeller could produce, Vought had to design the Corsair in an interesting way in order for it to be a capable fighter. The Corsair was initially designed for use on US carriers during the Second World War. As such, the reverse gull portion of the wings next to the fuselage allowed the designers to not only give the craft shorter landing gear, but keep the propeller large and fold up the wings without making the craft too tall for carrier storage. Despite its clear intentions to replace the Navy's F-6F Hellcat back in the Pacific War, the Navy pilots were not a big fan of how difficult the Corsair was to land, so the Marines took the craft and used it to great success from their many island bases in the Pacific Theater. Now, given how it's the same airframe, what is the difference between the Vought Corsairs and the Goodyear ones? I'm glad you asked. The major difference is the engine. The Goodyear model used a Pratt & Whitney R4360 radial engine, which was only capable of taking the craft to a top speed of 431 miles per hour. This is 15 miles per hour slower than the Vought versions. Its armament is also lighter. Unable to mount cannons, this version of the Corsair has a total of 4 M2 Browning 50 caliber machine guns instead of the normal 6. The air forces of both Honduras and El Salvador were mostly committed to ground assaults against the other side. One pilot, Captain Fernando Soto, would make history as he left his base with his 2 squad mates. On the 3rd day of fighting, he had his men perform a weapons check before they got too far away from home base. Due to these Corsairs being old surplus from the United States, keeping them well maintained was a challenge for both sides. One of Soto's men had malfunctioning weapons, and he sent the man home, proceeding to go along with the mission with one wingman. They were launched by the Honduran Air Force to assist ground forces near the border. However, on their way to their targets, the flight encountered a pair of Cavalier Mustang IIs. Now, you have to be wondering, what is the difference between a Cavalier Mustang and the P-51 Mustang you talked about in a previous episode? The simple answer is, the Cavalier Mustang is the plane I flew when I visited your mother last night.
We apologize for this juvenile attempt at humor. Hunter has been forced to say nice things about Europe for an hour as punishment. Normal content will resume in a moment.
The Cavalier Mustang II was a variant of the F-51D fighter that was heavily modified for close air support and counterinsurgency. With improved avionics, wingtip-mounted fuel tanks for a longer range, and a reinforced airframe to support outboard weaponry, this version of the Mustang was perfectly designed to support ground forces in an assault. It has a length of 34 feet 2 inches, a wingspan of 41 feet 4 inches, and a height of 13 feet 1 inch. It is powered by one Rolls-Royce Merlin 724 Hamilton standard engine. This could push it to a maximum of 440 miles per hour, giving the aircraft a range of 2,000 miles, a service ceiling of 41,000 feet, and allowed the airframe to maintain its speed while fully loaded with armaments. 6 50 caliber machine guns are housed within the wings. while there are 6 individual points of attachments for bombs, rockets, or other varying ordnances to be used in its close air support missions as well. Soto and his wingman would engage a pair of Salvadoran Mustang IIs in intense maneuvering battles. Being one of Honduras' best pilots, Soto was able to get inside the Mustang's turns, quote, real easy. 3 bursts from his Corsair cannons pulled the left wing off of one of the Mustangs. After dealing with the Mustang, Soto and his squad spotted a pair of Salvadoran Goodyear Corsairs. Dropping their ordnances, Soto and his squad moved to engage the new threat. They climbed above their targets and used the more powerful engines of their Vought Corsairs to have an airspeed advantage in the diving attack. Soto was able to catch one of the enemy Corsairs on fire, downing it swiftly. However, things had started going wrong when his wingman, a man named Acosta, had stayed at a higher altitude to check on 2 Salvadoran Mustangs that had arrived on scene. This allowed the one remaining enemy Corsair to slip onto Soto's tail, and the 2 Corsairs would engage in a classic dogfight. Zooming, diving, twisting, turning, and finally, after what felt like an eternity, Soto performed a split S maneuver that put him on his enemy's 6 o'clock. He downed the Salvadoran Corsair in a stream of cannon fire, earning himself the last piston engine fighter kill in history. Soto's Corsair was transferred to the Air Museum of Honduras, where it remains with 3 aircraft silhouettes painted upon its surface, 2 Corsairs and 1 Mustang, representing the last part of the propeller fighter's long and epic legacy in the realm of air combat.